Hello everybody, my name is Jeff EG.iNcontroL Robinson, and we're going to do another instructional video today. You ever been cheesed on that ladder? You ever had a tough time against those players that want to do those strategies that make you want to pull your hair out? Well, maybe it was me, maybe it was somebody else, but we're going to talk a little bit about defending against the cheese, what to look for, and why we're going to come out ahead. So let's go ahead and get into that game right now so we can get that learning going. So the map is Korhal Compound. You notice I've sped it up just a little bit. Your eyes are not deceiving you. And we're playing against MVP Tails today, a fantastic Pro Toss player from Korea. Has a wonderful stream you guys should definitely check out. But more importantly, let's talk about defending cheese, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pause it here to go ahead and give us some time to describe the earlier stages of this. First and foremost, you're playing on a 1v1 map. You can see the starting location here and the starting location here. Both players have come into this map understanding that. And what that means is there's a heightened reality. There's the increased proximity for which you're going to start to find people to cheese you. And it's because they don't have to worry about scouting. They don't have to go to potentially like two or even just one other base that's perhaps not occupied. Like if it was Shakira's Plateau, there's only 3 starting locations possible for every time you play a 1v1 there. So there's that element of, I can't exactly find you because there's a 50-50 chance I go to the wrong base. But as we can see here, Tails is opting for the Forge. This can mean and be only one thing in a PvP. Now I want to go back and talk about a couple things here real quick. You'll notice if you check my vision, I actually scouted down here. Why would I scout down here? This is not a starting location. This is not a place where our opponent could possibly be at this time, right? But actually, wrong. You actually could be here. This is a popular place to go ahead and drop a pylon and then eventually make 2 gateways. Also, recently, I've had someone drop a pylon, build a cannon, drop a pylon, and start leapfrogging up here because they know once that cannon has been established that they can actually take a couple extra warp-ins to get to that critical spot where they're starting to hit either your mineral line or your nexus. So for those of you that haven't seen this kind of thing, experiment with it. It's extremely powerful. Really only a stalker will put it down. If you get in here and it's unscouted and a cannon does finish, it's pretty much lights out for the opponent. I mean, he's got to do some amazing fancy footwork. Probably something like canceling a gas or a gateway and putting down his own forge to defend against it. Maybe getting stalkers out super fast, but gosh, is it really hard to hold off. So that's one of the things I've faced as well, but more commonly it's gateway. So we scout there, and then we also have to scout up here along this. A lot of Protoss players will also drop a pylon, gateway, gateway, and then all of a sudden they're coming at you with a lot of production very early. And if you don't scout that, very rarely do I see a natural Protoss build that can basically take on a double proxy gate inside your base just naturally. The very few instances would be where like you get a super fast stalker out, probably doing like a 10 gate or something like that, and that stalker is able to hold off the zealots just by the fact that it's a ranged unit versus melee units. But in either case, the bottom line is that you have to scout this out. So I'm checking around. I don't see anything. Even checking over here, and I don't see anything. But right there I see his probe. Is that a tell? No, not necessarily, because this probe came kind of late. So right now, I'm thinking to myself, well, this is just a completely normal game. You can tell that by the fact that I've got 3 probes on gas, second pylon, gateway. Everything is normal here. This is not an abnormal start for me. Now I want to slow this down so we can take a very close look. I'm even going to go slower than normal. So get ready for like Matrix mode. Here we go. Probe makes its way to the back of the mineral line. That's fine. Pylon, pylon. Okay, that's really weird. What's going on? And he wanted to drop another pylon right here so he could build a cannon here, but I actually ended up blocking it. And now the most important thing I can do is to make sure this space is occupied. So if a probe did try to drop a cannon, it can't. But then also if it tried to make a wall, it wouldn't be a complete wall. Because if this probe dies, the rush is completely done. So we can see here that he's going to let these pylons finish, which means I need to chrono boost this zealot, which is abnormal. In fact, I probably shouldn't even be mining gas because I've got well over 50 gas, so that's all that's really important is getting that first stalker out. And I've left my 3 probes in a blocking formation there. Meanwhile, back up at home, I've scouted to confirm exactly what I thought I knew. And now I'm gonna leave this here. Like, his probe is well gone, right? But it's just not worth the risk. It's just absolutely not worth the risk. Now, at this point in time, when the zealot pops out, it becomes okay for me to go ahead and resume mining. He had a second probe inside my base. That probe could have potentially done some really dangerous stuff. But with this stalker on the way, all things are clear. He could drop 3 cannons right this instant behind a wall or whatever. And because of that Stalker, because of that Zealot, I would probably go ahead and kill that. In fact, even in the investment, it would cost him too much money. So let's go ahead and get back into the game. Now, there's a couple ways you can follow up a cannon rush. A lot of times players will drop a pylon here and just kind of wall themselves in with a cannon or two, and then tech normally. Usually a 4-gate follows that up. That's just the tendencies that I've seen and experienced. So just kind of chalk that up for what you will. But it looks like MVP Tails wants to try to get an expansion going, and this is actually another powerful gesture. So in theory, what I'm about to try to do is awesome. Drop a pylon there. Let's go ahead and sneak in their base, because of course he can't stop me, right? He's just got probes. Well, Tails, being a very intelligent player that he is, he knows what's up. He knows he has to stop this probe from getting in there. Now, I messed this up pretty bad. We'll talk about that in a moment. But if this probe dies, which it looks like it's about to get surrounded, yep, it's dead. Now I don't have vision in here, and then my Stalker's like, well, wait a second. Now my job's to watch for that cannon, or that pylon rather, and it gets too late too. So that's actually pretty pitiful. That's not what you want. 3 cannons at this ramp can hold off a lot of Protoss. But with this pylon in here, having a spotter, warping it inside his base circumvents those defenses and allows me to get at that mineral line, perhaps the next itself, and probably win the game. So it's on to plan B for us. I still am behind a base. If you look at that income tab, I'm down in harvesters. He has twice as much Chrono Boost, so I'm not going to have the advantage in terms of production and tech for very long. So it's very important I capitalize on this. So all my Chrono Boost should be going towards things like Warp Gate, which of course it's going to stop doing because this is going to finish before the Gateway's even finished. And then it's probably going to Chrono Boost out a Warp Prism as well, just to go ahead and get at this location as fast as possible. And we're going to do what's called an elevator technique, which means we're going to take our units that normally could not go up this kind of terrain, and through the Warp Prism, but also the Warp In of the pylon itself, we're going to go ahead and get up that wall and inside his base, going around those defenses. And that's going to be our strategy. And the reason why that's strong too against this kind of cheese, or even double gate, is because what we lack in probe count, we excel at in terms of tech. We had that cybernetics core significantly earlier. We were mining gas earlier. We had our gateway earlier. All those things are to our benefit. And if we were to just expand because of his production, because of his Chrono Boost, his double Chrono Boost basically, we would probably negate that advantage just by trying to do the same thing that they're doing. So this is actually pretty cool. It's not an all-in, but it has to do damage. Okay, so if this attack gets up this ramp and there's like 7 Stalkers and he holds it off just barely, but is still ahead by 10 probes, well, we're in trouble. You know, that's not going to do a lot of good for us. But as we can see here, I've got a whole army coming up this ramp, and he's got nothing but probes and a single Zealot. And if any of you guys, you know, played like 2 games of StarCraft, you're probably looking at this going, well, I think I know the results. And there it is, GG. So just to kind of recap, let's talk about a couple of things that you have to do as a Protoss player when defending cheese, because that's what we're trying to teach and learn today. First and foremost, scout your main. There are proxy gates, there are distance cannon rushes, there are internal cannon rushes as we saw, but that's the first stage of the cheese in a PvP. That's where it's going to occur. Things to look out for in terms of maps: if there is reduced space behind your mineral line that makes for like a single or double pylon block that can then wall off a cannon behind that, that is extremely dangerous. So be very wary of probes making their way behind your mineral line and kind of dilly-dallying. If they're not necessarily mining the minerals, they're just kind of wandering back there, it's not a bad idea to grab a probe and tag it onto his, so that if he does try to drop some pylons, you can either snipe his probe because yours will have the first couple of hits on it, in which case, you know, congratulations, he's built a couple of pylons inside your base, which is, you know, just an advantage for you. Or you're at least on the inside blocking and opening the pathway so that more probes can get in there so they can start hitting things like warping in cannons. Very important in the name of defense for cannon rushes. So we scout our main. We still 12 pylon, 12 gateway scout with our probe. We don't need to do anything super fast. I'm not asking you guys to scout at 9 pylon every single game or something like that. And then the return favor. How do we counter cheese? How do we go after cheese and take advantage of it? Well, we're going to have that tech advantage. A lot of times we're going to have the economic advantage as well. You can capitalize on that. Do you just play super safe and, you know, go 1-gate robo expand? Probably not. What if they're 4-gating you and they get a couple lucky force fields and jump all over your guts? I recommend high production builds or fast tech builds. So blink stalkers are a very good choice, but I would not skimp on observers, because if they've cheesed you once, it's very likely they'll cheese you again with something like DTs, because they know they're behind. They have to do something desperate. I basically would just tell you, don't do any kind of expansion build. If you expand against a cheeser, there's a very good chance that what they're doing is, again, like I just said, another desperate gesture to try to get back in the game or win the game. And expanding is making yourself vulnerable at a time when you don't have to. You have all the advantages you could possibly need. Why not just go ahead and capitalize on that? Another thing, too, is sometimes when I get proxy gated, or we as Protoss players, we build a forge. And that forge is to build a cannon so that we can hold off a larger number of zealots with obviously fewer defenses. The other idea here, too, is that if all their production is inside your base and they're focusing on inside your base, with your scouting probe, drop like a pylon here, build a cannon, and then build another cannon that then finally reaches the nexus. That's a great way to return the favor and induce some extreme ladder rage. I cannot tell you the amount of things I've been told while doing that. It's like, dude, you just cannon rush me, and it didn't work, and then I cannon rush you, and it did work. Why are you getting mad at me? It's pretty funny. And in any case, today we talked about Protoss cheese and PvP. I think that we have a pretty good idea of what it takes, A, to hold it off, but B, also to respond. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys, and I will see you soon over at evilgeniuses.net. See you later.